A homeowner at 272 Taylor Road in Scarborough listed their detached house at about 1.4 mil in January. 3 weeks later, 0 offers. So they cut the price to about 1.25 mil. Still nothing. 88 days later on the market, it finally sold on April 7th for $1,025,000. That's about $374,000 below where they started. Over a quarter of the original asking price. Gone. Meanwhile, 45 Cardwell Avenue, also in Scarborough, also detached, 4 bedrooms, 4 bath, listed on March 27th at 1.18. Sold 13 days later for 1.27 mil. That's 85,000 over asking. 0 price changes, 0 stress. Same city, same month, same interest rates. One seller lost 374,000. The other made 85K above asking. The seller at the Taylor Road house made at least 3 of the 5 mistakes I'm about to show you. The seller at 45 Cardwell made 0. If you own a condo or condo townhouse and think about selling and moving up to a house, you need to understand both sides of this equation. The number one reason homes are sitting in Toronto right now is overpricing. And I know that sounds obvious, but what is actually happening in this market is different from normal overpricing. The average property in the GTA is sitting about 47 days before it sells. A year ago, that number was 36 days. That's about 11 extra days of mortgage payments, property tax, insurance, and stress. And for sellers who price above the market, it's much worse than 47 days. And here's what today's buyers look like. They already put every comparable sale in your neighborhood on places like House Sigma, condos.ca. They know what the house 3 doors down sold for 60 days ago. And they also have a mortgage calculator. So they know their monthly payment down to the dollar. And if your number does not hold up against that math, they did not even book a showing. They scroll past your listing and move on. So property price more than 5% above a realistic comparable tend to sit past the 90-day mark in this market. And they do not just sell slightly below what they started. They sell below where they would have sold. They're priced it correctly on day one. So I want to speak directly to sellers who are adding 30 to extra 50K on top of what the data says because they want room to negotiate. I hear this all the time. You need to stop it. That cushion you think you're building, that's what pushes your listing into the wrong category before a single buyer books a showing. And you're not creating negotiation room. You're creating hesitation. And in a market where detached homes in Toronto are selling about 99% of asking price and condos are selling 97%, there's no room for wishful thinking. And here's what makes overpricing so damaging. Every week you sit on the market, you lose leverage. Buyers start wondering what is wrong with that house. They assume you'll eventually come down and they'll wait you out. Or they'll come in with a lowball offer because they know you're tired. That fresh listing energy, the first weekend of showings, the initial wave of interest, that disappears and you can't get that back. So price it based on what has actually closed in your neighborhood in the last 30, 60 days. Not what you paid, not what your neighbor listed for, because that didn't work either. And not what AI tells you what your price is worth. What buyers are actually paying right now. Pull the data yourself. That's the only number that matters. If you own a condo or condo townhouse in Toronto, you're trying to sell, I need to be direct with you. That's the hardest segment of the market to sell in. Condo townhouses across the GTA, they averaged about 740,000 in March. That's down about 6% year over year. And if you own a condo, the picture is even worse. Apartments in the city of Toronto, they average about 650,000. That's down 10%. There were about 2,900 new condo listings in March, but we only had 950 sales. That gives us a sales to new listing ratio about 33%. The historical average this time is 51%. And that's deep buyers territory for condos. So whether you're in a townhouse or a tower, condo townhouses are holding up slightly better than condos on price that is. But the supply pressures hits both. And the supply problem is going to get worse, not better. There's about 29,000 new condo units were completed in 2024, another 29,000 in 2025. And many of those buyers purchased pre-construction in 2021 and 2022 at peak prices. But they owe more than the units are worth today. Some can't even close. Some are listing on the resale market immediately. That extra supply is landing on top of the normal spring market and on top of the 5 months of inventory we currently have. So I had a client in a condo townhouse complex near the junction. She listed her 2-bedroom back in January. It's a good block, well-maintained, priced at $740,000. And based on what comparative units were selling a few months ago. After 35 days on the market and 1 price reduction, she sold at $695,000. So the issue was not the unit. The issue was that 3 other townhouses on the same street were also listed, plus a handful of condos in the nearby tower. And that That was where investors were trying to offload at any price. And she was competing against sellers way more desperate than she was. So if you own a condo or condo townhouse and you're planning to sell, you need to know what else is listed on your street or in your building. Your competition is not just resale, it is pre-con completions that are flooding your market. Now, let me flip the other side of the equation. You sell your condo, you start looking at houses. This is where reason number 3 hits. Toronto is full of homes from the 50s, 60s, 70s. Everything works. Roof is fine, furnace runs, but the kitchen has not been touched since 1987. And the bathrooms have original tile, maybe some of that pink stuff. And the basement has wood paneling and a drop ceiling. The funny thing is I sold a house like this not too long ago, but let's say the seller is pricing it like it's a move-in ready house because they're comparing to a fully renovated house down the street that sold for top dollar back in 2022. That's not how buyers think in 2026. If you're finding this useful, hit subscribe. Most people watching this channel are not subscribed, and it helps me keep on making videos just like this. Okay, let's get back to it. And here's what happens when a buyer walks into one of those homes. I watched it happen not hundreds of times. They walk in, they start looking around, and before they reach the back of the house, the math has already started in their head. Kitchen, $50K. Bathrooms, $40K. Flooring throughout, extra $20K. Paint, fixture, light switches, maybe another $15 to $20K. By the time they stepped out the back door, they have mentally added about $100,000 to your asking price. And now your $1.1 million house feels like a $1.2 million house, except the fully renovated one down the street, they're listed at 1.15. The math does not work. These houses can absolutely sell, but the price has to reflect the work that's needed. If you're selling a dated home, price like a dated home. If you're buying one, factor the renovation cost into your total budget before you make an offer. Do not tell yourself you'll figure it out later. The fourth reason homes are sitting is location friction. And this one hits hard for condo owners looking to move up. For years, the value proposition of the 915 was simple. More space for less money. Buyers understood that trade and a lot of them made it. But buyers today are doing a different math. They're not just looking at purchase price and monthly payments. They're calculating the commute, the GO train pass, about $300 a month, the gas, the hour and a half each way on the 401 or DVP. And they're weighing that against what they want their life to actually look like. And when you combine a mortgage that is already at the top of the budget with the commute that eats about 2 to 3 hours of their day, the extra 500 square feet stops feeling like a deal. It starts feeling like a trap. So this does not mean that homes in Durham like Ajax, Whitby, or Oshawa can't sell. They can, and they are. Detached in a 905 average about 1.25 mil in March. They're selling about 98% of asking. There's leverage there, but the price has to account for the friction the location creates. If a house in Mississauga is priced the same square foot, if a house in Mississauga is priced the same per square foot as a house near the Junction or Etobicoke, buyers will pick Toronto every time. The commute math doesn't work. The commute math forces the discount. The fifth reason is one that's costing sellers deals they thought they had. Buyers are walking after the home inspection. So don't have to tell you this, but Toronto has some of the oldest housing stock in Canada. Talk about homes from the 20s all the way to the 60s. And those homes come with things that scare buyers. Knob and tube wiring, aluminum wiring, galvanized plumbing, asbestos in the insulation, asbestos in the floor tiles in the basement, foundation cracks that's been there for 40 years. So sellers have lived with these things for decades. They've stopped noticing them. But a buyer's home inspector writes it all up in a 30-page report. That deal falls apart. Not because the house is bad, because the buyer doesn't not know what is serious and what is cosmetic. They just see a long list and they panic. And here's what I tell every seller before they list. Walk your house like you're a buyer. Look at the big system. Talk about the roof. When was it last replaced? Look at the furnace. When was that inspected? Are there water stains on the basement walls? Is the electrical panel original? And then also get a pre-listing home inspection. In Toronto, that's about $500 to $1,000. It sounds counterintuitive. Why would you pay for inspection on your own home? Because it puts you on the offense instead of the defense. And you know what's there. And you fix the big items before you list. Or you just price the home to reflect what needs attention. And let a buyer who knows what they're getting into to make a fair offer. What doesn't work is hoping the inspector or the buyer's inspector will not find it. They always find it. We talked about 5 reasons homes sit. Now let me show you what is actually moving. Number 1, move-in ready single family homes that are priced based on data. This is the clearest pattern in the entire GTA right now. Clean, functional, detached homes where the seller priced based on recent comparables and they prep the home before listing it. Those are getting offers. Well, not bidding wars in most cases, but solid firm offers within a couple of weeks. Detached homes in Toronto, they're averaging about 1.6 mil. That's in March, selling at 99% of asking. That means if you price it right, you get essentially your asking price. If you overprice it, you sit for 60 days and sell below where they started. The difference between those two outcomes, it's not the house, it's pricing. Number 2, semi-detached homes in Toronto. This is one of the segment of Toronto market that's still competitive. Semis, they're averaging about 1.23 mil. This is in March. And they're selling at 104% of asking. That's above asking. So in a market where everything else is soft, semis are going into multiple offers. Why? Fewer sellers are listing them. The sales to new listing ratio for semis is about 44%. That's the tightest of any property type. And demand is strong because semis sit at a price point that feels reachable for move-up buyers, cannot afford that detached. So if a semi in, let's say in Leslieville, Junction, or Bloor West is on your list, be prepared to compete. That segment has not softened. Here's number 3, bungalows. I know you heard that right, bungalows. If you own a bungalow in Toronto, you're seeing something this market wants and cannot find enough of. The demand for single level living appeals to multiple buyer groups at the same time. Talk about downsizers, people planning for the long term, young families who do not want stairs in their daily life. And the last one, investors who see a lot with redevelopment potential. There's a lot of these bungalows that sit on lots that are about 50 feet wide. So when one property type speaks to that many different buyers, there's not enough of them available. And that's where you get real urgency. So bungalows that are priced correctly are not sitting. So you own a condo townhouse and you're watching this and you think about moving up. Here's the takeaway. Your condo townhouse is a tough segment to sell. That's the reality. But the move-up math depends on what you're targeting. If you're looking at detached house, the buy side has leverage. Detached in Toronto is down 6%. Detached in the 905 area code is about 7%. So sellers are accepting 98 to 99% of asking. So you lose value on the sell side, but you save on the buy side. The gap between a condo townhouse and a detached house has narrowed slightly. That's real. But you're targeting a semi-detached in the 416 area code, different story. Semis are selling at 104% of asking. That segment has not softened. Every month your condo townhouse declines while that semis hold firm. So the gap between those two prices, they start to wide, and that costs you real money. So price your condo townhouse based on what is actually sold on your street or complex in the last 30 to 60 days. Get ahead of the competition from pre-construction completions. And on the buy side, know which segment you're targeting. If it's detached, you have time and leverage. If it's a semi, let's say in Junction, Bloor West, or Leslieville, that window is tighter than you think. The sellers who understand what is driving this market are the ones who are winning. The sellers who do not are the ones watching their listings expire. So 5 mistakes are separating the homes that sell from the homes that sit. Now you know all 5. Thanks again for watching. See you soon.